Hey, Magic Makers. Kelsey Foremost, your host of Find Your Magic here. I am so thrilled to welcome my friend Mandy Emerson to the show today. She's an Instagram coach who helps entrepreneurs grow their businesses using Instagram. She's kind of a genius at it. But what I love about Mandy in particular is she really focuses on helping entrepreneurs succeed on social media while minimizing overwhelm and anxiety. Because if you're anything like me, I feel a lot of anxiety surrounding number of followers, number of likes, even though I know I'm not supposed to do that, even though I know I'm supposed to be all well adjusted, I still have that icky feeling of like, if I put something out into the world and people don't respond immediately or it doesn't get as many likes as I wanted it to, it's really hard to pick yourself back up and continue to share. Certainly, especially if you are at all vulnerable on your social media profiles, which if you follow me at Kelsey Writes on Instagram, you know I am. So Mandy gives us some amazing tips for staying sane while building a social media presence later in the episode. But we start the episode with this conversation that I'm so grateful to have had and to be able to share with you, which is really about that period that might feel a little dark night of the soul that happens in between the leaving of an old career or identity and the time between that and finding our new path, finding the new thing that lights us up. I think a lot of times entrepreneurs present this picture of like having the light bulb moment that whatever they were doing was no longer fulfilling them. And then, bam, they found the new thing and they started on the new path. And here they are, successful and shiny right in front of you, right? But the truth is, all people who go through that identity crisis, especially if it relates to a creative career, something where you are sharing yourself and your gift with the world, there's often a quite long period of time when you are really struggling with that decision of leaving the old life behind and also the anxiety of not knowing what's next. Mandy and I became friends initially because we both left careers in the performing arts. Mandy was full on musical theater genius on a cruise ship as a successful performer for years. I left my career as a successful actress on stage and film, TV. And it took a lot of bravery to admit that the thing that we had spent so much time, so much energy, and so much money learning how to do, and that we were successful at, was no longer the thing that we wanted to do. It is really hard, and it truly does present an identity crisis. And so Mandy is sharing her story of how she moved through that time. And I bring up in this conversation something I like to call your lily pad moments. I made up this term image of a lily pad being that in between safe space in the middle of turbulent waters where you've hopped from an old life and you need somewhere to land in the meantime to figure out where you're going next. It's your little port in the storm, your little safe harbor. You will probably feel really isolated, really alone, really unclear what direction to go next, right? If you picture a lily pad, it's a circle. You could literally hop in any direction. So I want to take this opportunity to acknowledge those people who might be on their lily pads right now. I'm right there with you in a lot of areas of my life, figuring out where I'm going to live next, who I want to be in my next relationship whenever that comes into my life again. There are a lot of things where we might feel alone or shouldn't I have this figured out by now? And it's so important to acknowledge that you're not alone. We actually all go through these lily pad moments multiple times in our lives. And Mandy and myself are both examples of what happens when you give yourself that time and that space to sit on that lily pad. Be proactive about finding what actually lights you up. listening to your intuition, and da, 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 finding your magic so that you are sure to go in the direction that you were meant to go. And let me tell you, when you start in the direction you're meant to go, you instantly feel it. Things immediately start to come your way to support that new path. The dominoes fall naturally. And in Mandy's case, it led her to an incredibly lucrative career as an Instagram coach. For me, it led to my company, Find Magic Words Copywriting, and here to this podcast, Find Your Magic. So please enjoy this wonderful conversation with my friend, Mandy Emerson. We starting with jazz hands with a nod to our musical theater past.
Why wouldn't we be?
Y'all,
let's go.
Welcome to this episode of Find Your Magic with Mandy Emerson. She is an amazing Instagram coach and she helps entrepreneurs grow their business using Instagram, but she's also a former musical theater nerd. And we really bonded when we both discovered instantly. It was like, I see you. I recognize game, recognize game. Jazz hands recognize jazz hands. But Mandy and I were
1000%.
Yes. Would you like to start with, why don't you tell a little bit just about how you found your way to what you do now?
Yes, absolutely. Okay. So excited to have this chat with you, especially because we had such a great connection chat. And you and I really did bond, not just over musical theater, but we instantly bonded over personal experiences, which I'll kind of go into now. But I come from a performing background, Kelsey was saying, but I come from a performing background in theater, and I was on cruise ships for 4.5 years. I studied fine arts in college. That's what my degree is in. And I went out to LA. I did a whole bunch of auditions and got picked up by Royal Caribbean pretty quickly. And before I knew it, I was out to rehearsals. And I was with the company for 4.5 years. I did 5 different contracts and traveled around the world. And 5 different contracts.
How long is a contract?
6.5 months at a time.
Holy moly, Mandy.
Right.
Talk about like your identity in life being wrapped up in what you're doing.
Yeah.
Holy
my gosh. I mean, my identity was my job. It was what I did and I loved it. I loved performing. I loved saying, "Oh, I'm a cruise ship singer," because you get that little reaction out of people because it's not something like anybody hears. Right.
Oh my gosh. So absolutely. I think that's an important point. I don't want to gloss over that hit of, I don't know if it's oxytocin, serotonin, dopamine, whatever, cortisol. I don't know. You get some sort of hit when you say what you are and someone is impressed.
Totally. It just feels good though. It's a little bit of validity too of yeah, I've been working my whole life for this. So you better be surprised.
Yeah. I made that dream happen.
Totally. Like I put in the work to be where I'm at today. So I loved performing. I loved traveling. I will be super transparent. I did not like cruise ship life. It was hard. A lot of it was hard. You can just imagine being around people that you've met for the first time. So you don't know any of these people, some people you've worked with maybe on a previous contract, but you don't know these people up until rehearsals. You spend a few weeks with them, getting to know the shows, performing, rehearsing, all of that. Then you go and live on a moving hotel for 6.5 months.
And you can't go anywhere.
Right. You live, work, eat, breathe, sleep, everything with these people for 6.5 months. There's bound to be someone in there that you're gonna rub shoulders the wrong way. It's just bound to happen. It is what it is.
Inevitable, I'm sure.
Right. And I know that you're going to know this too, but we as theater people, we are pretty dramatic sometimes. We're over the top.
Never.
Not me, not I, right? Like we're a little bit dramatic and that's kind of a beautiful thing, but it's also can be, I don't want to say toxic. I don't want to say that, but at the same time, there's just a lot of energy. Yes, that's even better. That's a better way to say it. It's a lot of energy and it's a lot to take in. And then with 12 to 16 people that you're with all the time, and maybe you're not with them all the time, but you are. And then there's limited contact to land. So
Yeah.
we had to pay for our Wi-Fi. We'd have calling cards, so if we needed to get a hold of somebody, there's emergencies, but if you wanted access to Instagram or Facebook or texting, you had to pay for Wi-Fi, and people didn't always do
Wow.
that.
That I
So
was
a
not
lot
aware
of
of.
Oh yeah. So what would happen then and is it kind of creates this culture of everybody is in everybody else's business.
Of course.
So there are no secrets on cruise ships. There are eyes absolutely everywhere. And there's a lot of speculation. It's just it can turn toxic really quick.
God, the
And
pressure
it's
of that. The pressure of that. Do
oh
you know what just
Lord.
crossed my mind is like, I feel like you were on, I imagine like what it would be like to be on a reality show like The Bachelor or
Yeah.
something and have to be
Yeah.
on and like monitoring your
Hmm.
behavior and, how
Hmm.
you're
All the
presenting
time. Hmm.
24/7 for weeks on end. I can't
Yep.
imagine doing it for
Right.
6.5 months.
Yeah.
How did you
So I
stay
had
sane?
prayer.
Yeah. Hey, yes. Hallelujah. Amen. Accept it.
Prayer.
Love it.
And then I loved makeup and beauty. That's one of my strongest passions I have even to this day. But I discovered beauty YouTube tutorials very early on in my YouTube life, or in
Mm,
my cruise ship life, I should say. And I started creating YouTube videos, creating content, creating videos. So while I was on the ships, I would do that. I would create different videos, and that was a little bit of an outlet for me.
yeah.
Not even a little bit, it was a lot of it of an outlet because it I would find times to go in the backstage space in the theater portion of the ship when no one would be there to do my tutorials, and those are still up. They're still on my YouTube channel.
Can't
If
wait.
you want to go check them out. And there's also two, if you want like a real inside scoop, there's two videos of room tours. One is when I was living with someone, and one when I had my own room, and that wasn't until my last and final ship. But you can kind of get a peek inside what it's like to live on
Fascinating.
the ship, but also with somebody else. So
Oh my
um,
gosh.
I
Wow.
found an outlet. I would always go out in port. Every single time we were in port, I would go out sometimes by myself. And you know what? There's a lot of blessings that came out of this. One of them being I got to know myself really, really well
I was
because
just gonna say, I think it
yeah,
could go a few different ways, and one of the positive ways is that there is no escape from
totally.
spending time
Yeah.
with yourself and you
Yep.
being, I like to say, the own damn love of your life,
Oh
because you're
yeah.
the only one that has to spend every day with you till death do you part.
Hmm. Yep.
And yeah, and I also think that's so I also am the kind of person who escapes by being alone. So I
Hmm.
am like extra anxious listening to this story, going like, oh my
Yeah.
God, how, like,
Oh
I would
gosh, I don't
have
want
to
to
go
provide. I don't want to
breathe.
give you anxiety.
No, no, but it's also, it's amazing because it's inspiring to think about, like, even if you are in a situation where you're living in a floating hotel with no escape, you can
Yeah.
find those moments to escape to
Oh
the
yeah.
backstage, to figure out that creative outlet, maybe to
Hmm.
connect
Yeah.
to the outside people online who aren't in that toxic bubble.
Yeah.
And
Totally.
like, you can find those moments even if they're few and far between.
Right. Absolutely. So, although there was a lot of negatives that would never, I would never go back to cruise ships unless my husband came with me and we went together. But
Mm,
even then, it still gives me. I will have dreams, which is really sad because there's so many good things that came out of this. I will have dreams that I'm going back to a ship and I am devastated in
oh
my dream to
wow.
go back to a
Wow.
ship. Isn't that so? It's like a little bit of a trauma because
It is.
unfortunately, there was just situations with cast members that took really ugly turns. And I remember one contract, I was actually concerned that some of the cast members might sabotage my costumes or my shoes. I mean,
Yeah,
it was that bad. And not saying
sure.
that that's everybody. I don't want to paint this ugly light, but
But I
it
think that,
just,
yeah, no, that it's a cliche because it's true. There's a kernel of
yeah,
truth in like performer ego, anxiety, not like, when I say performer ego and anxiety, and like leads to sabotage, because there's so
yeah,
much pressure put on like being a star because
Mm,
it's in my mind, it's like in order to get paid, in order to survive, you
yeah.
have to be a star, right?
Mm,
It's
mm-hmm.
not a job where you can separate yourself from your ego really easily. And
Yeah.
I think that there's
And
like a survival instinct that kicks in for
yeah,
some people. And I have,
right.
empathy and compassion for that. But when
Yeah.
you're on the other side of it, and same, been there, when
Hmm.
someone puts something in your thermos, or
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
someone hides your prop or your
A wig?
costume. Oh, a wig. Oh, that would be horrifying. Oh, that would be really
So you
bad.
just you go out with like a wig cap, makes you look bald. Oh my okay, so just to say, nobody ever sabotaged me. I don't think anybody was ever close to ever doing that. But there was such
But it was crossing your
animosity.
mind.
It
You
was,
were
and it was
anxious enough
sad.
that it was crossing your mind.
Right. It was sad that I actually thought these things about people that I was once friends with. There was really such a silly miscommunication that turned into this ugly thing again because you're in this kind of bubble where everything really festers. You don't have outside releases.
Yeah.
So
A
really everything just
perspective.
gets, yeah, everything just gets really, really muddled and like on top of each other. I have this picture in my brain, but you don't have any other external, like you don't get to go home after you perform. Your home
Right.
is still where you perform. You don't get to then go out for dinner with people because
You live
you're
with your
going out to
coworkers.
dinner. Right. Exactly. Like you live, eat, breathe, work with your coworkers. So I mean, it was really an unfortunate event, and eventually everything like came to a head and we all dealt with the issues, and I was like, this is actually how I felt. I thought you guys were going to sabotage my stuff, and they all just look like we would never do that. I'm like, but you
Yeah.
still made me feel that that would happen.
Yeah.
So
Ooh,
eventually everything.
can I
Yeah,
just
go ahead,
comment really quick? Because
please.
I think that that's something that is really brave and vulnerable to do,
Mm,
and important that people, I want to change the conversation around
yeah.
confrontation, because
Ooh.
when we hear
Mm-hmm.
the word confrontation, pretty
Mm-hmm.
sure all of you just went like, ooh, right? Like it doesn't feel comfy. It's
Oh no,
scary. It's
hate
vulnerable.
it.
But I, now in my 30s, having gone through a lot of life experiences and come out the other side of those life experiences,
Yeah.
actually am very pro confrontation in a way that is like
Mm,
empathetic and kind and vulnerable. Because
absolutely.
only when you confront the issue or the person or whatever and speak that truth of,
Yes.
you made me feel like you were going to do something drastic, and I'm sure you weren't, but I still was worried about it. And them
Yeah.
receiving that and being like, oh my God, I'm so sorry I made you feel that way.
Yeah.
Only then can you move through to the next positive
Absolutely.
thing. It's the only way.
Yeah.
Very pro confrontation here on Find Your Magic.
Absolutely. Yeah. Well, and so to speak to that specifically, I I went to my dance captain and I expressed my concerns. Like I found an ally so that I didn't have to do
Mm,
it by myself.
smart.
Um, and we were able to have kind of a, a group meeting,
Yeah.
a little
Little
intervention, if you
intervention.
will.
Yeah.
Right. And people were able to express how they were feeling. I unfortunately didn't get to because I was so overwhelmed by their responses that
Mm,
I couldn't. And my dad taught this to me a long time ago. If you don't have anything like kind or proactive, or if you're only speaking from emotion and you're not able to actually say what you really want to say, of I felt like you were going to sabotage me, then you don't say anything because you're going to say things that you like are just not making sense because you're in emotion, you're hysterical, or you're just feeling a lot
yeah.
emotionally that you're not able to get your thoughts the way that you would really want to
Clarity.
express them. Clarity,
Mm,
exactly. So I didn't actually get to express, but I think me, once it got to my turn, I was tears were running down my face and I was just
yeah.
shaking my head. I couldn't say anything. But I think that moment, to those people that had zero idea the effects they were having on me, their
Right.
actions. Kelsey, I remember going through the hallway to my dorm and one of the other dorms doors were open. All those people were in there and they were saying the ugliest things about me. You thought I was like Hitler. Oh
Oh
my
my
gosh.
gosh.
And then I
What a
walked
pain.
past.
Talk about trauma.
Oh
Jeez.
Lord, I walked by the door and I just stared at everybody, and they were laughing and shut the door on me. And then it was
Oh,
that moment we were reaching everything to a head, and they were all saying these things like, well, I really do like Mandy. And I'm like, you're all lying.
that
You're all
sucks.
lying for to save face. But I was just in tears. And one by one, after they saw the effect that they were actually having on
Yeah.
me and my performance ability and my mental health and my livelihood, one
Hmm.
by one, each of them came to me and we had a heart to heart and they apologized. So it
Yeah.
did really have a happy ending. But again, I'm so with you to hit confrontation. Like something had to be done in order to resolve it. But
Yeah.
it's really sad that that's one of the memories I have associated with my cruise ship days,
Right.
and not like traveling the world and seeing Asia and Europe and South America and all these
Right.
places I've been to, and I was performing on a stage in front of thousands of people. That's not the first thing that comes to my mind. It's I would never go back to cruise ships.
Right. I think
And
that's an
that's
important thing to talk about though, that
yeah,
we can have this idea of what someone's life is or what
sure.
someone's
Oh,
career or
yes.
business is and look from
Yes.
the outside and think, wow, she is so lucky. She's
Mm.
traveling the world. She's
That reminds me of
making
Britney
money.
Spears' song. She's so
She's so
lucky.
lucky. Please don't flag this YouTube. But
Oh,
no,
so
it's true.
sorry.
No. I think we're fine. I'm
I'm
sure we're
sorry. Yes.
fine. And also hashtag free Britney, very pro
Also that,
Britney.
yes, very pro
Um,
Britney.
yeah, no, it's true though. That song is poignant for all the
Oh
reasons,
yeah.
but it's so
Yeah.
true. We really don't know what's going on inside somebody's life or business or
Mhm.
career. And it's important to have empathy
Oh,
if
so
someone
much.
is like, especially if someone has a dream that you want, right? Like,
Ooh,
I think this
yes.
happens a lot where you see somebody who has a business or a job that you or a
Mhm.
relationship that you
Ooh,
really
uh-huh.
envy,
Yeah.
and telling ourselves all kinds of stories
Yeah, we
because of that.
do.
Yeah,
We're
and
quite
there's
the storytellers. I don't know
ooh,
about you, but I am a novelist
oh,
storyteller.
I have moved myself to tears or anger with like fake conversations I'm having with
That's
absolute
never
like,
happened.
oh my God. I love talking about this. So I think this is
Yes,
a creative person thing and a writer thing, but also
sure.
an actor thing. I have fake
Mhm.
conversations with like like things that I think might happen, or like I think
Totally.
a really great like low risk example of this is like accepting your Oscar, right? Every kid has done that with
Oh,
like their
I can't even
hairbrush,
tell
right?
you. Oh, so many times have
Accepting
I
your
accepted
Tony.
my award.
Oh yeah, exactly. And like truly moving myself to literal tears, or
Yes.
getting like, if I'm imagining a fight that I might
Yeah.
have with someone, getting really angry. And
Mhm.
that stuff, the stories we tell ourselves, our brain doesn't know the difference. Our brain does
They
not know the
don't.
difference between, and this is literal science, people. Your brain does not
Absolutely.
know the difference between the thoughts that you're thinking and the outward experience you're
Reality.
having. Yes, which is why it's
Yeah.
so important to really pay attention to the thoughts that are
Yes.
going on in your head, because you really
Yes.
can, if not control them, have empathy for them and like recognize
Absolutely.
them for what they are, let them
Mhm.
go on their way.
Mhm. Absolutely.
So after cruise ship trauma bus,
I know. I know. That
bless
ship
that
has
mess.
sailed, literally.
Peace and love to all the
And
cruise
light
ship
to it.
people. But we are going to move through this, and
Yes.
tell me about your decision to leave, because I know from
Yes.
our conversations that that was difficult, even though
Sure.
there it was a tough situation
Yeah.
being on the cruise ship. It was
Right.
still a hard decision to leave.
Oh, absolutely. My last ship, I will say, my last ship was the absolute best contract I ever had.
What a
Every
gift.
single person, oh, an absolute blessing. And I knew it was my last one. Maybe because I knew that it was my last one. So another blessing that came out of cruise life is I met my husband. He was a passenger on my fourth contract. And we were doing long distance. Nothing scandalous here, people, before your brains wander and story tell. Nothing scandalous here because I would have gotten fired, and I loved my job enough to not do that. But we got to know each other through going through ports, and I showed them my favorite places. He was traveling with a friend, and he lives here in Milwaukee, which is where I'm located now. So this is kind of where my story started to go. But my fifth contract, my last one, was an absolute godsend, blessing, everything about it. I wouldn't change a thing. So it really left on beautiful terms.
Great.
So when I did leave, I left to go to Chicago to be closer to my husband, who's in Milwaukee at the time. Well, we still are, but moved to Chicago so that I could still pursue my love of performing because it's all that I knew. And there was family there, so it was kind of a safe middle ground to be closer to Tim, my husband, be with family, and still be performing.
I call these moments lily pads.
I like that.
Like a safe place, like a little island in the middle of what could be, dangerous waters. And you have this little lily pad, and it's not your forever house, or your forever situation, but it's a safe place to land for a while. It's your lily pad.
Yeah. It's my lily pad. Well, so this lily pad must have been going through a hurricane because
oh no,
those were some tough years. And because I was transitioning from performing for the majority of my life to no longer doing so. I got to a point that I was burnt out from the audition process and rehearsing, and I've done it for so long, and not that I didn't love performing, because every time I get on stage, my goodness.
It's like all the good drugs at once.
Gosh, so good. so good. And I long to do that again someday. And I would love to get involved in theater here in Milwaukee. And my intention is absolutely to do so. But my fire was really burnt at that point. I knew that it wasn't forever, but I was kind of like, well, what do I do now? And I really went through that identity crisis of, what the heck do I have to offer the world? And what am I good at? What can I do? My degree is in fine arts. Do I go teach it? Do I go get involved at a school of some kind? I have no teaching experience. So I was really at like kind of a standstill and kind of my hands open, like, what do I do? Where do I go?
Yeah.
Who do I talk to? Who do I need to see? Right? So I did what I knew how to do, which was makeup, and I knew I could go get into retail really quick. So I started a position at Ulta and started doing retail sales, and that led into working for Estee Lauder and Tarte Cosmetics, which was also really great. I met some amazing people there, but still I was earning minimum wage and living with my beautiful great grandmother, but I still felt like I had no direction. And this is a sad moment because I know it's not true. And I've even expressed it to my husband, but we were just dating at the time. He was in corporate. He had his life together. I say life together, but the idea of life
outwardly,
together is,
I think we all know how that translates. Yeah.
Oh, totally. Is he had his job. He really enjoyed it. He was getting a great yearly salary. I mean, he really had his adulting life pretty much together for the most part. He was happy with where he's living. So all the great things. And I was like, you're dating a cruise ship has-been who's back in retail working minimum wage. And I want to preface, there is absolutely nothing wrong with working retail and working minimum wage. That is not what this is about.
It's about,
I was doing this, what I thought I was going to do for the rest of my life. And then I was doing something completely different where I felt like, I know that I'm not meant to be here, but I have no idea where I'm actually supposed to go. And it was hard. It
those
made
are
me
the
feel like
scariest moments.
It made me feel like Tim was going to wake up someday and be like, I don't know that you know what you want with your life. And I'm looking for someone who has direction and knows what she's doing. It was so sad. Oh my gosh, it was so sad. And he's told me to this day, like, I knew that you had it. I knew that you had the potential. You were going places and you were just figuring it out. And I wasn't about to go anywhere because I knew you were going to go do something great.
He sounds like a very emotionally intelligent young man.
which is crazy because he's so logical, rational, like feet on the ground. I'm up in the clouds, like living my best life, want to go work at Disneyland for, ever. And he really keeps me grounded, but he's just so logical. And with that emotional depth.
Mm,
So big blessing. Landed a really good one. I'm
sure
pointing
did.
this way because he's on the other side of this wall. He's over there. But I still went through that. Like, what the heck do I have to offer? I don't know my direction. I don't know what I'm supposed to be doing. And it
By
wasn't
the way, guys, I think everyone has felt that way. I think that
absolute,
we
which I
feel
didn't know.
so alone in those
Yes.
moments. So if you're looking for a sign, this is your sign. You are not
Oh yeah.
alone. If you are
Yeah.
in one of these moments where you are like, I feel no magic in my
Mm.
life, I feel
Mm-hmm.
no alignment, no spark, but I
Mm-hmm.
also don't know what direction I'm supposed to go in,
Yep.
you are definitely not alone. And it'll
Yeah.
probably happen more than once in your life, to be frank.
Yeah.
Like,
Absolutely.
yeah, continue.
Absolutely. Well, you know what I will say that I would encourage anybody who is going through this, and I can't emphasize enough what you just said, that there are people that actually go through this. So when you and I were talking, getting to know each other before our podcast episode, is there are a lot of people that go through this and that I
Yeah.
didn't know that.
Mm.
So yes, amen to that. Everybody, if not a lot of people, go through this. But what I was doing is I was trying to be as proactive as I could. I was getting involved with um, free organizations that held monthly, if not weekly, get togethers and networking. And something I do really well is getting myself out there to meet new people, whatever that looks like.
Mm.
So I was in a sorority in college. So I got plugged into the alum club in Chicago. I got plugged in with an organization called, um, oh my gosh, what are they called? Rising Tide Society,
Oh,
which
yeah,
is a
that's a
lot
great
of
one.
entrepreneurs and business owners, small business owners, vendors.
By the
Got
way,
plugged
the
into there.
the reason behind that name, you guys, if you don't know, is there's that saying, a rising tide lifts all boats. And
Hmm.
I also have been in with that group, and it's a great
Yeah,
place to be. It's very community over
absolutely.
competition. Yeah.
Yes.
These are all great
Yes.
ideas,
Yeah,
like
just to
places to
just
look
to
for support.
right, go be proactive about it. Even though it took me, to be very frank, a couple years to be where I'm at doing what I'm doing, I still every step of the way was trying to get plugged in where I could to get inspiration, to meet other like-minded individuals, men and women, didn't care. Obviously love to be plugged in with like-minded women, but I mean, there's also some men out there that have been super influential in my journey to being an
Yeah.
Instagram coach and strategist and having my own business. So I was still getting out there and exposing myself to new ideas, inspirations, and experiences.
Yeah. And the more
Um,
you expose yourself to, the more options you have to realize,
yeah,
like, oh, this might be for me. Actually, never mind. Or, oh, definitely
right,
no. And oh, I
right.
love this idea. Let's
Yeah,
let's figure that out.
yeah, absolutely. And I've done so many different had so many of those moments where my husband's like, "So what's the dream today? Where are we going? What are we trying to do?"
And that's okay. I think too,
Oh,
there's
yes.
this misconception that we have to have this one path, that if we're an entrepreneur and we're building our path, that it has to be
Yes.
one direction with
Right.
no offshoots. And that's not true. This
Mhm.
podcast is a perfect example. Like, there are many different avenues that you can be exploring at any given
Yeah.
time. And as
Mhm.
long as they're giving you energy, money, life,
Mhm.
then it's absolutely good to continue to pursue multiple avenues that bring you joy.
Absolutely. Yes. And please do. I mean, you may just come up on a gold mine of
Yeah.
something that you were like, I don't know about this, but let's test it out. Because that's literally what happened to me at the beginning of 2020. So fast forward a little bit, husband put a ring on it, moved to Midwest, was still working for the cosmetic company. And then pandemic happened. A lot of people lost their jobs, myself included, because everything shut down. Ulta, Sephora's, everything shut down. So I was
Of
no longer
course.
going in
Yeah.
store. And I was kind of twiddling my thumbs, knowing that I had some kind of entrepreneurial goal, something. I
Spirit.
just didn't
Yeah.
know what it was, and I didn't know how to tap into it, but I was very much attuned to it, listening like, okay, I'm here.
You were listening to
Not
your
for me.
magic, baby.
Yes, I had my ears open. I was praying about it, like, just lead me where I am supposed to be going. So then in May of 2020, I invested in my first ever business investment, which was Social Curator by Jasmine Starr. She is the mentor to me who doesn't know she's my mentor, but she is my mentor. And
Totally.
I don't think I've ever had like a one-on-one conversation with her. Someday, maybe
Oh yeah.
it'll
Calling
happen.
it
It'll totally
in.
happen.
Absolutely.
Let's make it
Manifest
happen.
that shit.
Yes. And with her guidance and her membership, I was able to create a strategy plan because I was still doing makeup and beauty at the time. But I did know deep down that that wasn't my calling, but something
Mm.
in content creation, social media was. And May, I hit it really hard. It started turning into sharing some Instagram tips and tricks, things that I had picked up along the way, because I was always interested in strategy and data for myself,
Mm.
but was never sharing it because I didn't think that that was an avenue. Shared it on a whim. Kelsey, it was like overnight crazy DMs blew up with, wait, how do you do this? Or Mandy, do you actually know how to do this? And it started to snowball very quickly into now I'm offering 30-minute free discovery calls. And then I'm starting to charge for coaching. And then I'm opening up a group coaching program. And now I'm creating courses. And it's like, it's been under a year that I officially started offering coaching. So in September is going to be my 1 year like business anniversary. Thank
Congratulations.
you. But it spiraled, not spiraled, I shouldn't say, spiraled in a good way. It
Snowballed.
snowballed
Yeah.
snow quickly. But so quickly. And I never would have guessed that I would now have this business that I do. But here we are, all because I kept my ears open. I put myself out there. I was being intentional, networking with different people, even though I still do makeup for events and photographers from time and again. But I knew that wasn't my calling, but I was still keeping my ears open, still
Yeah.
putting one foot right in front of the other, even though I had no idea where that was going to lead me.
Yeah.
Oh, if I could go back and tell that younger Mandy, like, girl, just hold on.
Just
It's
hold
coming.
on.
It's gonna be so good. I'm getting chills. That's when I know like the Holy Spirit is like, yes, girl, that's right.
Do
That's
you know
exactly
the
right.
song from the musical The Secret Garden called Hold On? The musical is The Secret Garden.
Okay.
It's so near and dear to my heart. It's like this very
Oh,
niche 90s musical.
yeah.
But there is the most beautiful song. Go listen to it
Yes.
on Spotify after this. It is called Hold On, and it is
Mhm.
her. So this girl's going through dark night of the soul, and she's having a really hard time, feeling really rejected. And musical theater nerds unite. There's this amazing ballad. It was my audition song for years. And the lyrics are, oh gosh, when you feel the storm is coming, see the lightning part the sky. There's no place to run. There's terror in your eyes. And she's like explaining, you're having this horrible moment. You think it's never going to end. And all you got to
Right.
do is just hold on. You don't have to
Yeah.
do anything except
Yeah.
wait it out. And
Yeah.
again, like stay open to whatever that next direction is that is coming your way. It's a beautiful song.
Hmm.
If you ever feel like having a
Yes.
nice like cry belt session in your car,
Yeah.
it's my
Oh, for
go-to.
sure. I'm on it. Next car ride. You know what's gonna be playing in my
That and
car.
Sherry Renee Scott in the last 5 years. I'm like, anytime I need to have a good
Okay.
cry, it's like, see, I'm
Yes.
smiling and hold on.
I love that so much.
Oh man.
Oh,
Well,
that's
I
good.
I do want to talk about one last thing before we let you go, Mandy, which is you are an Instagram coach, and I am betting, I would bet a lot of money that a lot of women who come to you are
Mm,
feeling insecure
mm,
and lost and
mhm.
overwhelmed and
Yeah,
thinking that they'll never get to the level that they want to get to because they don't
right.
understand social media. So,
Yeah,
what advice would you give to someone who is looking to start to up level their social media presence without
yeah,
going crazy?
yeah. Okay, great question. And the first thing I think of is you are tying yourself to very limiting beliefs.
Mm,
And this may sound going into mindset, and I shouldn't even say that, so I'm not going to say it. Mindset really is everything. Okay,
yeah.
in anything in your life, and limiting yourself to what you are capable of, you are doing yourself and others that are waiting for what you have to offer a disservice.
Mm,
Um, one of my the network company that I'm affiliated with, one of my sideline sisters said this: is there is somebody waiting for the offer, product, service that you have to offer that's going to change their life. And
yeah.
if you don't come forward with it, you're taking it away from them. And I know that sounds really grandiose, and it could be
It's
that
true
you,
though.
but it is, it's 1000% true. So when you have that limiting belief, it does take a little bit of that self awareness of, okay, wait, is this story true? Has this actually happened? And if it hasn't, okay, I see
And I
you,
let that go.
release.
Yeah.
Exactly. It's being aware of the thoughts, because your mind is so powerful. I mean, we were just talking about, you can create stories and your body reacts as if it's happening in reality. It's massive. So
Yeah.
letting go of those limiting beliefs, that's going to take work. But man, can I tell you, when you enter in a space where you know what you have to offer is everything and anything your ideal client, customer, follower, whoever you're trying to talk to, it's so releasing and so exhilarating and exciting knowing that you're able to help people with something they're struggling with. And it could be something, what you think is small is actually really big to somebody else.
Oh my
The
gosh.
makeup, for instance, there are women out there that don't ever feel pretty putting on makeup, but they want so much to be able to do it. I mean, you
Yeah.
be the person to help them with that. Or it might be someone needing help with the fine lines or the beautiful aging our skin goes through. And I'm calling it beautiful aging because listen,
Yes.
it's beautiful
It
aging,
is
okay?
beautiful.
But they're wanting to figure out how to do it that works for them. You could be that person to help them with it. And I know makeup sounds like a small thing, but to some people it's not.
I think
And
that's a
you're providing
great
that help.
example. I think that's actually a really great example, like a microcosm of exactly what we're talking about with like, don't start to doubt your own freaking gift. Like,
Yeah.
don't minimize the gift that you were
No.
given and that
Mm,
you can then go out and give someone else. Like,
yes.
how incredible to be able to give someone the gift of self confidence, of
Yes.
an energy of feeling beautiful that
Hmm.
translates and that's a ripple effect too. That person's going to go out
Totally.
into the world and be nicer to their coworkers or be nicer to their
Yeah.
husband or their wife.
Right.
Like
Right.
there's so much that there's so much benefit that you don't see beyond perhaps the very immediate
Yeah.
that you give, but
Right.
you don't even know the ripple effect you're
Mm,
having in the world. So
absolutely.
don't
And
doubt
don't
your
take it
own
away.
freaking gift. Yeah.
Yeah.
Don't take
Don't
that
don't
away from
doubt your
someone.
don't doubt your gift, and don't take it away from somebody else. So speaking to the people that are overwhelmed by Instagram and wanting to incorporate it, or feeling that imposter syndrome,
Mm.
um, something I read in a book that I can't even remember the title of it now. I'm sure it's up there with my other books that I've semi read but not semi read. Anyway, um, that the cure to fear is action. So if you can solve a problem, if you can solve a fear by taking action, you don't have a problem and you don't have a fear. So a lot of
Yeah.
times we will look at something like, oh, I can't do that. That scares me. And
Yeah.
then we actually do it and we get on the other side and like, that wasn't so bad. That
Right.
is literally with almost anything in your life that you can apply that exact method to. So a lot of times too, clients will say like, who am I? Who am
Mm.
I to talk about this or do this? Oh, sister, you are one of a kind. How many people do you know that can provide what you can provide, that have gone through what you've gone through? The
Literally no
answer,
one.
spoiler alert, literally no one. Literally no one. And I don't think that concept gets through to enough people. They think, well, there's somebody else doing this. There are like 5 bajillion Instagram coaches. I am the only one of my kind because I'm me and I had the
Right.
experiences that I've had.
Right.
And I approach things differently than, Sally down the street and Carol up the street, right? So
Right.
we all have our different experiences, and that's what makes us unique. And again, I go back to, somebody is waiting for you to deliver your information, your knowledge, the way that you deliver it that nobody else is doing. Somebody's waiting
Yeah.
for you to do it. So I think it's really stepping into owning the gifts that you have, and the experiences that you've had too are so unique and special to you. And as far as Instagram goes, I mean, it really should be just looked at as a tool, nothing more than that, to be
Mhm.
able to grow your brand awareness, to grow more traffic to your business, and to make a bigger impact with the people that you're trying to change and touch their lives.
Yes.
To never look at it as a vanity metric, ever, ever, ever.
Yeah.
And baby steps, one step at a time. If that means showing up once a week, great. And then maybe it's 2 times a week, and then maybe it's 3, and then maybe it's every day. That feels like a lot, but honestly, when you take the baby
We're
steps,
on there scrolling anyway.
oh my gosh, totally. We absolutely are. Absolutely.
Oh, Mandy, thank you so much for all of this
Oh,
amazing insight and sharing your awesome story that I know is going to make a lot of people feel really deeply seen. I'm so, so appreciative and grateful that you came on Find Your Magic today. So thank you.
yes. Oh my gosh, this is such a great chat. And there's almost a little bit of a therapy session for me too, I
That's my
think.
goal. That's my goal. It's
I
like
love it.
business meets therapy, mental health,
Yeah.
entrepreneurship, stirring it
So
all in a
good.
bowl and giving it to the
So
world.
good. Thank you so much for the opportunity for me to share, but also hopefully make someone else feel like, oh, I've been through that too, that you're not alone. That's the biggest thing, is you really are not alone. I know that sounds cliche to some, but it can't be said enough, because the weight of it is very strong, that you're
Yeah.
not alone with what you're going through. It might be special to you and unique to you, but you really aren't alone. So thank you so much for having me. This is
Uh,
such an amazing conversation, and you are doing
Amen.
wonders.
Thank you. Last thing, where can people find you and support you?
Yes. Okay. Instagram's my jam. The Mandy Emerson. You can come hang out with me. I also have the Fierce Social Society, which I was so blessed to have Kelsey on for a wonderful interview chat. So you can find our interview in the IGTV section of the Fierce Social Society.
Love that. And I will have all of Mandy's links in the show notes below as well. So be sure to check her out and support her. Thank you, Magic Makers, for tuning in. Every time you show up for one of these conversations, it makes a difference in your life, but also in ours. We really appreciate you spending this time with us. We love you, and we'll see you next time. If you made it to the end of this episode, it means you're truly committed to inviting more magic into your life. Be sure to rate, review, and subscribe to Find Your Magic on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, or wherever you listen to this stuff. Each review truly means so much. Thanks for being here. Now go out there and find your magic.